Now on the Amp'd UP211 podcast, Sidney Muniz. Today, our special guest turned a personal family challenge into a groundbreaking business that's making waves in the amputee community. Sidney is the visionary co-founder of Amputee Sock Prints. After his mother lost her leg below the knee due to diabetes complications, Sidney realized that there was a gap in the market for fun, expressive, and affordable amputee socks. Driven by his mother's unwavering positivity and strength, Sidney set out on a mission to create a product that not only serves as a practical purpose, but also uplifts and empowers amputees. Sidney's artistic background, including hand-painted murals and children's books, plays a crucial role in the vibrant and storytelling nature of these socks. It is our pleasure to welcome Mr. Sidney Muniz. Sidney, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Rick. How you doing?
Well, it's been a minute since I've seen you, sir. I saw you at the convention last summer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How about it? That was so nice. It was so nice to see you, and you have been on my short list of guests that I want to get on the show today because I see you as very relevant in our space. You are not an amputee, but you are the son of an amputee. And going back to, your story specifically, I've been certainly amongst, like many others, in all the different community groups on social media, sort of with my finger on the pulse of what's going on in our community and looking for support and guidance and little doses of inspiration and hope. And when I started my amputee journey about 6.5 years ago, you were one of those people that just seemed to always be popping up in my feed. And I know that I had mentioned to you when I saw you at the convention that you had provided what I felt many times was much needed inspiration, not only because of the product that you produce and, bring to our amputee community, but also just the kindness and thoughtfulness that you bring to our space. So thank you for that, very much so. And I think where I want to start with you today is circling back to your mom and her going through an amputation. And I think from what I read, she is a diabetic, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that her amputation was the result of complication from diabetes.
Yes, sir.
And how did that come about for her?
How did the amputation come about?
Because I know diabetes presents complications, and sometimes, an amputation can literally be something as simple as, oh, she had a blister on her foot. Sometimes it can be more complex issues like chronic diseases like Charcot. There's lots of different things that can tend to bring on a condition for diabetics that will escalate or complicate due to diabetes. And most people don't realize that at times, yes, it can be a complication based on poor control of diabetes. But for the record, I have met just as many amputees that are diabetics that were well controlled, and they still experienced some form of amputation, whether they lost a partial foot or an entire leg. So, my question is more the curiosity of what was her journey like? What happened?
Well, she had vascular disease. She has some vascular stuff going on, but they believe that was kind of somewhat under control from the best that I know. But what ended up happening is it turned out that the diabetes, she'll always say that her diet wasn't great. And being Spanish, we tend to eat a lot of white rice and things like that. So she knew it. That comes from her, that she doesn't feel like she did enough on her end. So it didn't help the vascular disease with the diabetes. And then eventually what ended up happening is I think she kind of scratched her foot or her toe or something in the bottom of a pool. And it just kept going, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And when they went there, they started to look at her foot, started to turn colors. They realized that she started to have blocked arteries. She had clots. And they opened one that worked for a little while. That closed. Then they opened another one, the one or two main ones. That worked for a while. Then that closed. Then I think they were up to the third one. And at that point, they're so small, it's actually pretty dangerous. But the doctor just didn't want to do an amputation. Her name, my mom, her name is Lillian. And he's like, we're going to try one more time. That worked for just a few days. Then at that point, he noticed something, and he says, I think you're starting to get gangrene. And he goes, if we don't do something now, and it goes in your bloodstream, you're probably not going to survive. And he had to go to the hospital that day. And at that point, she had come to terms with it. And they right leg below the knee, December 2020.
Yeah. And you sort of being on the sidelines of that, let's say, as a son, what was that experience like for you? I mean, what emotional set did you go through watching your mom in that situation?
Well, that's difficult, I think, for anybody, right? You love your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, whoever it is. To see them going through that, and I started to come down. I used to live in Florida with her, then I went to New York, but I started to come down very often. And I saw the coloring and the pain that she was in. She would just start crying out of nowhere. So even though through all that, right? I mean, like you said, I am the outsider in it. To see my mom just cry randomly, and she's a pretty happy-go-lucky person, I knew it was bad. But I'll tell you what, we have faith, and my mom is so strong. Yeah, I think that's why I get a lot of what I get from. She and my sisters also. She's so strong that when that moment came, she was really ready. And she's like, let's do it. Let's get this done. I can't do the pain. I'm going to get through this. At that point, for all of us, I mean, my goodness, after the amputation, yeah, that's what started me with the socks. As a side note, I was speaking with her right after the amputation, and she's like, I'm alive. I'm going to see my grandkids. I'm going to get my prosthetic, and I'm going to walk. So for us, as difficult as it was, she's so strong and so determined that we were all pretty positive about it as her support network. We just were right there with our mom, myself and my two sisters, and the family.
And that's usually the first thing I will ask anyone who is preparing for an amputation. So if it's a planned procedure, I do engage and talk to many people in that position because, of course, when you're, let's call it prepping for the loss of a limb, you want to know what to expect. And you and I both, being part of social media and scrolling through the many feeds that we're a part of, we see that question come up, right? Someone says, hey, I'm getting ready for my surgery. What should I expect? Or, my doctor's recommending an amputation. What's on the horizon for me? So when someone does, ask me that question, it's hard. It's really hard to prepare them for what's coming. And the first thing I always ask, which sort of gets me in the right kind of headspace to know what I can say or not say, is what is your support system like? That's usually my first question. Who do you have waiting for you on the other side of this? When you come out of surgery, who's going to be there? when you go home, who's going to be there? Have you spoken to anyone in the practicing space? Have you done any research on prosthetics? Have you done anything to sort of at least start formulating a plan? Because some of that foundational support that you're talking about, and you've seen it in real time, it's so incredibly important to be able
Mhm.
to press into, lean on your family, especially a mother who, has kids that are concerned and love them and want to see them thrive, which I think makes your story so unique and beautiful at the same time. Is you're a creative person, you're artistic, you've done all kinds of things in that creative space, and your mother becomes an amputee, and suddenly all of those skills, all of that skill set, that creative monster that you're always feeding, right? It
Yes.
becomes it becomes something that you can, in solidarity, you can say, "Hey, I want to be part of this community in my way. This is what I can do. These are the things that I have. These are my tools that I can bring to this space." So when was it that we all, in anyone who's ever been in business for any reason, we all have that kind of like light bulb moment,
Mhm.
right? That little light bulb goes off above our head. When was that for you?
That was right after the amputation. I had come down a week or two prior to, and then they called, say, mom's going in. I came down just right after. As soon as they said I could come in, I think she was home in just a few days. I went straight to the house. It was right after her amputation. She and I were speaking. We were in the living room, and she's that spirit. And she's like, "Hi, son. I'm alive. I made it. I don't have pain." And she wiggled her. She calls it her little stumpy. She wiggled her little stumpy, and she's just like, I can't wait to see my grandkids. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna get my first prosthetic. I mean, that's where I get a little bit of my excitement from. Is kind of like her. So I'm looking at her. Here's the light bulb moment. I'm looking at her, and I'm saying to myself, because I know my mother's positive, but I'm like, wow, she's stronger than even I thought.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the bandage, the ace bandage on where her leg used to be. And to me, I registered as this. Gosh, that is so dull and depressing. That does not reflect the person. I heard that as clear as clear. So that was my light bulb moment. And as the creative guy, I told myself, as soon as I go home, I need to find something, whether it's a floral design, whether it's a script or something. And I couldn't find it. And I don't know if you want me to keep going in that direction and how it kept
Oh
going.
yeah, please do.
But so I couldn't find it. And I searched and I did research and I did research and I found this one and that one and they were $40 and they were boring. And I said, I'm going to figure this out. So I won't go through all the technical stuff that I had to do with the research. I'll just go as far as this. I knew I was going to do this one way or another. I said, I'm going to figure this out. So I studied and looked at what was the ply. Like I'm learning, right?
Hmm.
What does somebody put on there? What do they need? What does it feel like? What's the material? I had to know all that. And I did all that research. And 3-ply, for me, that's the technical part, seemed to be the good space. Wasn't too warm, wasn't too cold. So I spoke to a bunch of companies. I tried to get it done. And I negotiated hard because with that being said, I says, I'm going to provide it for her and I'm going to get this out there to everybody else. But I also wanted to do it where people could afford it
Yeah.
because I looked at some of these socks that were $40 and I'm like, that is depressing. And so I worked hard, negotiated hard. And now we're going to go, now we're going to go into our third year of doing this. And we're selling all over the world. I mean, I still have a regular job. So even though I post all these pictures, I can't stop my regular job yet because it's not a lot of money involved there, so I'm still working on it. But for me, that was the aha moment.
Yeah.
And I did it at first for my mom, but immediately I looked at the numbers and I was blown away at the numbers out there, and for all the various reasons. And I really said, I have to do something. So I've always been honest with social media.
Yeah. No, it's really an incredible story, that your idea to bring this very, very sort of comforting, because those, amputee socks, to most people, let's say to someone that is non-amputee or doesn't know someone who's an amputee, would say, well, what's the big deal about a sock? And it's like, no, it's a big deal. And having something that can either uplift your spirits, having
Mhm.
something that is funny. Let's say you're
Mhm.
you're you're a quirky or sarcastic person,
Mhm.
because we all love to hear an amputee joke every once in a while.
Mhm.
All of those things, whatever your personality is, uh, Sydney's creating these beautiful socks that people can personalize. I mean, the thing that I found really awesome was, going on your website and seeing not only are there stock designs, but you even have the ability to customize. And
Mhm.
to me, that's, because I'm a creative guy too. So
Mhm.
for me, it's, whoa, wait a minute. This is really cool. Like, I can actually come up with something and
Mhm.
put graphics down, whatever it is, and bam, there it is. I've got my own personalized, one of a kind, you know, uh, limb sock that is definitely something for conversation, and it makes me feel a little more accepting of my situation. And it's something that so many amputees struggle with, because you're right. We get out of surgery, we're wrapped up in a bandage. It's almost this perpetual state of healing. We're thinking, okay, well, now I'm just this sort of broken, bandaged up kind of person. And
Mhm.
to have something like that, where you can, don a personal stump sock that is, giving some message that pushes back against, hey, I'm not well,
Mhm.
it can really lift your spirits, you know? And so basically, what you're saying is you found that, and I understand when you say 3-ply, because
Yeah.
I'm an amputee, you know,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
you found that 3-ply was a good, sort of like a good sweet spot, as far as people that were either going to wear it just all on its own, or if it was something
Mhm.
that they needed as additional volume if they were in a socket or something like that.
Absolutely. And the part of the customizing, immediately I knew that was something I needed to do. And I wanted to make sure that no one had to pay extra for that. Like I said, I'm a regular guy. I'm not wealthy. Those are my paychecks that pay for all this, and I'm okay. I do it because this is my calling. I know it is, and so I wanted you to be able to personalize it, whether it's your goldfish or whether it's whatever your logo, your favorite team, your military ranking, and not pay extra or less for that. I worked really really hard for that. And I want to share two stories with you because kind of going back to what you said about making someone feel special or this is the new part of me. I think you use a part of me or something like that, maybe a broken part, and that's the way to embrace it. I have lots of stories, but I'm going to keep them to two. There was a woman that called me one time. I give my cell phone to everybody, and people say you're crazy. Maybe I am, but I get way more sincere people than the not sincere people, and I'll deal with that. That's fine. So I had a woman call me one time, and she goes, "Sydney, I want you. Can you do something for me?" I won't give her name. And I said, "Sure." She goes, "For us ladies, sometimes I don't feel too sexy for my husband." And she goes, "Can you make something that makes it feel a little sexy? Can you make me like a little fishnet stocking so I can dress it up?" Dude, I mean, I'm an emotional guy. I'm an artist. I can't
Yeah.
help it. I'm sensitive. And that just hit me like, oh, I made it immediately for her.
Yeah.
Another one, this was a woman who called me. She said, Sidney, I have to tell you something. My father's been an amputee, I think 9 years, she said. And during any family gathering, anything, he comes out in his wheelchair and he always has a blanket. He will not show his leg, his stump. He will not show that to anyone. Well, I bought one of those socks. Thank you for helping me design it. I can't recall what I designed from a drawing a blank. And she goes, I couldn't believe it. This Saturday, we had a family occasion, and my father came out in the wheelchair, no blanket, to show people his new sock.
Yep.
That's why I do what I do, Rick.
Yeah, that's the stuff right there.
That motivates me.
Yeah, no, those are two really, really extraordinary stories. And I think that, for yourself, that's like full circle moment of, okay, there's a reason. There's a really, really important reason why I bring this to the community. And so often someone will say to me, it's the personalization, right? It's being able to make it your own and to own it in that way, right? Because for so long, even when you consider prosthetics, there was this major stigma, amongst amputees, let's say even as, I don't know, even as soon as, 20 years ago, where even showing a prosthesis was almost considered taboo. And that's very much changed. People see amputees as warriors. They see it as a sign of strength. They see it as something that you have lived through something that's very difficult and you're still here. And being able to don a personalized sock. And that's such a great story. You've got someone that, pretty much never showed their residual limb. And because of something that you created, they suddenly were proud to say, this is part of me and I feel comfortable with it. And that's just, that's what it's all about. And I'm always fascinated with people like yourself because everyone adds their own little, ingredient to this mix of positivity. Whether I'm, trying to get a story out there, into our community space, or I meet someone like yourself that's offering, a product that can lift people up, talking to different advocates, people that do charity work. I mean, you name it. It's all this big melting pot of, hey, we've got a really neat community, and I'm very much proud to be part of it. And I would imagine at this point, your mom is pretty proud of you, correct?
Yeah, she's like, son, it's kind of neat because she knows I have a lot of cardio and I'm so excited by this that I'm just looking straight ahead. And she can't believe it. I mean, we're providing this stuff all, not like I said, not there yet. I still have to keep my regular job, but it's all over. I just sent some to Poland this week. I
Wow.
sent some to Italy last week. It's kind of cool in that sense, where I'm able to share it. It's cool that way.
I don't even know how to send
I
something
wish
to
I didn't
Italy.
have to make them. Huh?
I don't even know how
What?
to send something to Italy.
Well, you know, I've invested all across the board. Whatever I can do, I just do. But I wish I didn't have to make any. I wish it didn't exist.
Yeah, I know.
I mean that. I wish it didn't exist. And I see the numbers are getting worse, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's a reality. It's a natural evil. It's something that we do see numbers climbing. The amount of amputations and people like yourself keep the community moving forward and keep us in a positive space. So I think that's very, very important. The thing I wanted to ask you about too, given that you are active on social media, um, very often I feel like there is little spaces in those communities where people tend to get stuck, right? And we see people that are struggling. Um, Maybe they don't see positive content as necessarily valuable. Uh, I mean, from what I can tell, you're a very positive person, and you tend to sort of put out that vibration, right? That, hey, it's another day. Let's get the party started. Let's get going.
Mhm.
Let's do our thing. And how do you sort of manage when you see some of the negativity that you and I experience online?
Well, I'm very careful with that. Some of the negative stuff that I see that I can't relate to, I don't really get involved. Just like the positivity, right? I'll tell somebody, look up and smile. I'll tell somebody, make a difference today. If you wait for someone else, it'll probably never happen. Hold the door, compliment somebody, buy a cup of coffee. I will never post, look up and smile when someone has just shared how much phantom pains they're having. I would be out of order. I stay away from that. It's not my place. But I do deal with the people that have told me, you're not an amputee. You don't know what I'm going through. I've never pretended to. I don't insinuate. I just can do what I can do. I can only celebrate somebody who said, I just walked 50 feet today after being in my wheelchair for 3 weeks. I can comment and celebrate that. So I just kind of do one of these numbers, but the negative stuff, I don't get too much involved in. If they want to come after me, and they have, I just say, I'm only trying to do my part. And one thing I've always done since day one on social media is any group that I've been involved in, I always contacted the admin. I says, I am not an amputee. It is my mom. Can she join? Can I join in as a son? And in addition to that, I have these socks. Am I allowed to share them? I don't want anyone thinking I'm trying to take advantage of anything, because that is not where I come from. That's how I handle all that.
No, that's very, very adult of you,
Mhm.
and I appreciate that, and I appreciate you making that very clear because you're setting a great example. Very often, I see some of the bickering that goes on online, and I think, man, life is hard enough. Why are we trying to? Why is one person trying to say they got it worse than another person? I mean, everyone's struggle is real. Everyone's pain is real. I don't care if you're below the knee. I don't care if you're above the knee. Um, I mean, no matter what the limb difference is, we are all in this together, and we should all try to draw energy and positivity from each other. And I think that that's really something that you are very much a flag holder of, and I appreciate that. How's your mom doing these days?
She's doing good. We almost lost her during Christmas.
Really?
Yeah, she had just some stuff. Just wasn't feeling good. Back to diabetes. Checking on some stuff, and then I mean, she's doing better now. But yeah, she technically died for 9 minutes,
Wow.
and they brought her back with no damage. She's not as fast as she used to be, but she walks. Um, she's had a rough few years, but even though she's not as fast as she was as far as thinking, she's still there. She's not out of it. Um, yeah, she's still positive in the midst of all this.
Yeah.
She still gives me a hard time when I don't visit enough.
I know what you mean. No, my
Hey, son,
mom
where are you?
my mom had a fall recently, and incredibly active woman, very very mobile, let's say. And it's been kind of extraordinary watching her struggle with her recovery. And you always hear that those theories about when someone who's elderly falls, usually the recovery is long, and then you hear these scary things like, and sometimes they don't come back from it. Like it's
Mhm.
that one fall just sends them into a tailspin, and then it
Mhm.
becomes a whole bunch of other stuff. So I know what you mean when you're sort of sitting back going, okay, well, all right, we're just kind of working through this. We're going to take it a day at a time. And, she came back from the hospital, and they gave her one of those walkers that has the little, plastic wheels on it.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, as an amputee, of course, I'm very pro assistive device. So I said, Mom, I said, that's not going to work. Like this thing you're trying to get around with, there's no turn radius. Like it's not good for you. You're going to end up falling with this walker. It's too rigid. So, I, of course, what does everyone do? Get on Amazon, and I ordered her, the top of the line, walker. And
Mhm.
she reached out to me, and she's like, "Oh, this is so much better. And now I can get around, and I'm not worried that I'm going to fall." And sometimes it's those little things that make such a huge difference, right?
Mhm.
And we got to make sure that we call our parents and check in on them, make sure everything is
Mhm.
well, right? Or then we're
Absolutely.
gonna pay the price otherwise. I was on your website the other day. Now are you doing t-shirts as well?
Yeah, yes, I'm doing t-shirts. People have asked. I started doing sleeves. It was never my intention. I was just going to stick to the socks.
Yeah,
But yeah, people like, man, I want a t-shirt to match my sock. I'm like, okay,
that's awesome.
done. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, as
Mhm.
far as all of your printing operations, like you're getting in the raw material, the socks themselves.
Mhm.
um how does all of that go to press per se? Like what's your process? What's the technical side, of amputeesocks.com? Like explain that to the listeners.
Well, I did it all, just kind of figured it out and just kind of went for it. But it's all done in house. It's all done here in the USA. And just print it here, just do everything here. It's a
Yeah.
process. It takes time.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's the current lead time right now when someone places an order? How long does it usually take to ship?
We've gotten really fast at that. 2 days.
Oh, wow. That's
2 days.
fast.
Yeah, for the most part, 2 days. We've
That is a
gotten
quick
really
turnaround.
fast. We have a really good system.
And do you still have a partner? Am I correct on that?
No, my business partner, well, my ex-business partner had done. I do it all myself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, can I tell you how I was able to start this, if I may?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a regular job. I'm a professional artist, but I moved around a lot, and you can't be an artist everywhere. I started this whole business in the back of a truck, driving a big rig, working 70 hours a week. So at the end of my 13-hour day, I'd hop on my laptop and I'd spend 2 hours talking to people on social media, doing designs, and sending it off to the shop. Now it's gotten to the point where I left that. I don't have to be overnight anymore because I was OTR. And now I'm home every day. So now because I'm home, I'm able to help and get this done. And that's why we can get it done in 2 days now, shipping. So I'm getting closer to making this my full-time gig. Uh, and ultimately, you know what I would love, Rick? I would love for this to go so big in a healthy way. Not big because I want people to lose anything. I'm just saying I want to provide it to who's out there and send it out. And eventually, I want to employ people that have lost a limb.
Yeah.
I want them to work because I hear these stories of people don't have jobs. And if I can employ them, I'm going to employ them. That's my ultimate dream.
Yeah, you're so right. People end up homebound. And then
They do.
they say, okay, how, aside from filing for disability, how am I going to remain productive and live a productive life? And I mean, what a fantastic, what a fantastic endeavor to not only create a business based on your family member's loss of a limb, but then to eventually scale to a point where you can start hiring people with limb loss to create these products and get them out to people and
Yep.
create that positive space within our community. I think it's fantastic, and I don't see enough of it. I mean, obviously there's, every once in a while I'll see like a funny, sort of a meme like funny amputee t-shirt somewhere like through Etsy or something. But for the most part, I really don't see like a dedicated space for something like this. And that's why I think it's so important to get that information out there so that people know where to go when they're trying to, let's say, shop, quote unquote, like all things amputee, right?
Yeah.
If you want to personalize, if you want to get some socks, get some t-shirts, do that whole bit, this is where you go. And you're equipped and you can fast track and get those orders out fast and make all that happen for people. Now, are you still in Florida or you said you're in New York now?
No. Now I'm in Florida.
Okay.
My mom lives in Florida, so I'm here in Palm Bay, Florida, which is
Got it.
the East Coast, about an hour south of Daytona.
Okay. Yeah, I know where that is. I actually grew up on the West, on the Gulf. So
I
used
used
to
to live there. I love it there.
yeah, used to summer there. My parents had a place in Captiva, and we were
Oh.
probably there at least twice a year when I was a kid. Which is
Mhm.
which is a beautiful. I mean, Florida's beautiful in general, but that's kind of like a big part, of my childhood and what I went through, kind of growing up in the sun. Um, so you were actually a truck driver, correct?
Yes, because I was an artist my whole life, an S corp,
Got it.
nice business. I sold it, and then I went to a couple of different states, and you can't be an artist every state. So eventually, I couldn't start the art business, and somebody introduced this to me because I know nothing about the industry. I
Yeah.
didn't have an uncle in it. So anyway, I took it because I wasn't going to come back to New York, and yeah, I just got off the road after 7.5 years OTR, which basically means I was only home for 2 days a week, which meant I was on the road, sleeping in the truck, 238 days out of the year for the last 7.5 years.
Wow. I've always
But I am
wondered.
finito, no mas.
I've always wondered what that's like, because obviously we've all passed an oasis or a truck stop, and we see, we see that lineup of semis, and they're all just sitting there, and there's guys in there, getting their rest before they can get back on the road. I mean, what is that lifestyle like? Because I don't really know a lot of people that have done that.
Okay, I'll give you the fun part of it. For me, the creative guy, is that I've been all over the United States. So from a visual perspective, dynamite. Sunsets to Colorado, all over, dynamite, right?
Yeah,
But I give you the reality of it. It's a very lonely profession
yeah,
because you're out there a lot by yourself. You're sleeping in a truck. You're sleeping at truck stops. You try to go to the nice ones because some of them are pretty dingy. You're taking showers at truck stops. So you go to the nice ones because they sanitarily they try to do a good job. I would never recommend the trucking industry to anyone,
mm,
especially if you want to have a life. and you want to have a relationship. I just dealt with it for some personal reasons after I got into it. Had a family, stuff happened. So I kind of got stuck in it for a little bit. So just to answer your question, it's no. I just did what I had to do because I had to.
Yeah.
But that has ended. It's a lonely profession. Really is.
I could see
You
that.
could be out there Thanksgiving. Could be out there Easter talking to guys you don't even know. And trust me, after you start a conversation with some of them, you wish you didn't. They're crazy. Some of these people, you go, oh my God, this guy's been on the road too long. He sees
People
things.
are crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I have to go to sleep now. Meanwhile, it's like 6 o'clock in the evening.
I want to go
Yeah.
back to something that you mentioned before. You were talking about some unique designs that you were asked to create. Can you rattle off a few that were just like extraordinarily bizarre or different, or like, wow, I can't believe I'm printing this right now?
Yeah. One lady sent me, I can't remember the name. It was a bearded dragon. She
Okay.
loved her bearded dragon. She had all these poses, and I had to put the bearded dragon here and there and make sure the coloring was right. That was pretty wild. Like, okay, you want a bearded dragon? No,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
I won't go into details, but a guy sent me some pretty raunchy pictures. He says, I would love to have this as a gag gift.
I was
Print
waiting
this.
for this.
Oh, no. Told him, nope, not doing it. I will not print. We will not print pornography and stuff.
Yeah.
We will not print violence. We will not do any of those things. That is a no-go for us.
Wow.
I don't care if he wants to give me $1,000 of business. He could give it to somebody else. It's not being done by us.
Yeah,
Not
I figured somebody at some point was going to send you something that you had to say, nah, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, dude, what'd you send me?
This is the love of my life. That's great. Good for you.
That's good.
But
That's good.
I'm not getting involved in that.
Nope.
Yeah, so some kind of law enforcement shows up at your door.
Oh, jeez.
Why are you printing these things?
Yeah.
The guy sent it to me. I have no idea. Wow, that's excellent. That's good stuff. No, I had an uncle that worked. Do you remember when there used to be those little photo huts? When
Sure.
you go to like that that little building to drop off your roll of film, and I don't know, you come back a week later and pick up your pictures. Well, I had an uncle that worked at one of those places, and he had I'm not kidding you, like a moving box full of photos that people, that he made 2 copies of. One for the customer, and then one for this massive collection of just inappropriate pictures.
Oh my gosh.
And he was the typical like creepy uncle, hey, I want to show you something. Like, what is this? Bizarre, I would say, is the best way. He's no longer with us, so I can speak about these things now. So give out the website just so we know exactly how it's spelled.
Well, it's amputeesockprints.com. Amputee sock, SOCK, prints, PRINTS.
Yep.
So just like it sounds, amputeesockprints.com.
Got it. I want to make sure that is out there correctly. I want to encourage everyone to check out Sidney's website. Did you start an amputee group yourself, right? A community group?
Yeah, I had started it a while ago because I kind of felt like some things were missing in some of the other ones, and they were all good, but I wanted the more personal touch.
Yeah.
Where like the admins were really involved.
Yep.
Not just open something and you never hear from them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started one, and we have 2,400 people on it, and it's just wonderful. They PM me all the time.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's on Facebook, correct?
That's on Facebook, yeah.
And what's the group called?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. The one is called Amputee Group.
Okay.
And right after we did that, Facebook doesn't stop other people from calling it the same name.
Oh,
so there's
I see.
another Amputee Group.
Yep.
We just have the one that has a sunset, yellow to orange, with like 5 or 6 silhouettes. That's how you know it's us. Because there's another one now.
Yep.
I didn't know you could do that, but I guess you can.
Yeah, no, I was just going to encourage everyone to connect with you through social media. You are definitely creating positive waves in the community. Everything that you've done up to this point is so appreciated. Please check out Sidney's website. Please look him up online. He is definitely an advocate amongst amputees. I want to thank you for coming today and taking the time. I know you're busy, and I know we've spent a little time trying to connect, but here you are. I can't wait to get this episode out and people learn a little bit more about you, who you are, what you come from, because I really feel like these backstories, are super important for people to understand what that post came from. They see an amputee post or a sock print post, and they say, well, okay, that's kind of cool. But now we can learn a little bit more about Sidney and really engage his platform and some of the positive things that he's doing. So, my friend, I hope to see you again soon. Thanks again for coming. Yep. My name is Rick Bontkowski. This is the Amp'd UP211 Podcast. I want to wish everyone health and happiness, and we will see you next time.